You guys might remember a while back when a bunch of GTA 6 videos leaked and Rockstar was blackmailed using their source code, or well, someone attempted to blackmail them, threatening to release their source code. Well, as it turns out, the guy who did the actual hacking in that incident was arrested and is being tried in London, except not really anymore, because the GTA 6 hacker was deemed unfit for trial. So today we're going to talk about that and figure out what exactly happened here. Let's take a look at exactly what the dude allegedly did. I'm not going to name him here because, well, he was deemed mentally unfit for trial, so naming him while knowing that wouldn't sit well in my mind. GTA is perhaps one of the biggest game franchises in the world, which is somewhat surprising since the last installment of the series, GTA 5, came out way back in 2013, 10 years ago. Somehow they've managed to keep the game relevant though, with frequent updates to the online part of the game. It's become the live service title that live service titles wish they could be. But one of the things that has helped with its timeless nature is whatever magic that Rockstar cooked up in the code, which allows the game to render such a huge open world so seamlessly. We've seen games like Cyberpunk, heavily anticipated but horribly reviewed, in large part due to how laggy the actual overworld map is. But that's not a problem for GTA 5, a game that came out when Barack Obama was still president of these United States. So the back-end code that runs the whole shebang is pretty important to Rockstar, and probably worth a pretty penny to them as well. It's basically the basis of their entire company. Well, that and possibly predatory microtransactions. So let's just say that it was a little bit of a problem for Rockstar when they found out that they'd been hacked. Not only because people got a glance at the early development build of GTA 6 and weren't impressed, but hey, it's a dev build, no one's supposed to be impressed. In normal development, there would be no one to impress because the only people who see it are those working on the game. But what was much more concerning was that the hacker was using their internal Slack to threaten to leak the source code unless they paid him $10 million in Bitcoin. He also threatened to release employee data too. Rockstar never ended up paying him though. He was arrested before he could go through with his dastardly plan. But just the blackmail alone would usually be enough for a pretty long stint in prison, especially when you take into account the hacking and the actual videos that he did leak. Well, in America anyway. I'm not super used to UK law, but I'm sure it's gotta be worth a big punishment over there too. Granted, having to eat toast with no beans is a big punishment over there, so who knows? But when you actually look at the damage he allegedly did, it was kind of huge. Since he leaked the videos of an early dev build of the GTA 6 game, showing that the game took place in Vice City, some details of the protagonists, and a couple basic gameplay things, he gave out a pretty sizable chunk of Rockstar's intellectual property. Not to mention, they were extra mad because it wasn't refined yet and looked bad. Now, I don't think it will have a real effect on people buying GTA 6 in 10 more years when it comes out, since I doubt some extra dev footage is going to be enough to change the hearts and minds of the gamers who are still sinking hours into this game that came out the same year the last Pope resigned. But it does translate into reputational damage that is certainly worth a pretty penny to Rockstar. But it looks like Rockstar might not get their justice at the end of the day, because the man has been found mentally unfit to stand trial. In the USA, we call that the insanity defense, which is incredibly hard to actually use here, and it seems to be the same over there. He has appeared in court a few times to plead not guilty, but I guess at some point someone realized he's not really getting what's going on, and submitted him for a psych eval. The psychiatrists, who I assume are appointed by the court over there, said that he is so mentally unwell that he would not be able to understand the evidence or give testimony on his own behalf. So now, according to the articles I've read explaining how the insanity defense works in the UK, he can't be found guilty at his trial. It seems like some form of trial still occurs, but instead of having to find him either guilty or not guilty, the jury can now only find as to whether he committed the offense or not. This is apparently called a trial of facts. If the jury ends up finding that he did do what he is accused of, the court has three options, which will differ from the usual sentencing. They can give him a hospital order, which will mean that he's sent to a mental hospital for treatment. If this is anything like what happens with the insanity defense in the USA, it will be for an undetermined amount of time, basically until someone at the hospital deems him fit to return to life, which could take decades if at all. They could also issue him a supervision order, which will see him released back to his life, but he will be supervised by a social worker or a probation officer for up to 2 years. And finally, the court could just issue him an absolute discharge, which would just let him get off scot-free with no conditions. So basically, they just choose which of these three options makes the most sense depending on whatever his mental condition is, and his risk of harm to others. Given he's accused in a number of other high-profile hacks, I think it's likely that they'll find he has some sort of risk to others. But like I said, I'm no expert in the ancient ways of UK law, so who knows? I just think it's kind of interesting that someone can be sophisticated enough to hack into a huge company, but then childish enough to taunt them over their own Slack, only for that person to be found unfit for trial. Personally, I find it hard to believe that someone could have the know-how to actually go through with a hack, and have a lack of understanding of what they've done. But I don't really know enough about what's going going on with him to satisfy my own mind, and it's not like it matters that much anyway. It satisfied the court's mind, and that's what counts. So now it's an interesting case study, and I'm sure an enraging event for the execs at Rockstar, who now not only get no justice, but also now have to contend with the articles about this, bringing back their PR disaster that they had so carefully left in the weeds. So what do you guys think about all this? Do you think that it's as strangely interesting of a turn of events as I do? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Have a great day, and God bless you.